A simmering summertime feud leads a once friendly neighborhood to war. Deadly war. With a vet who thinks he's still on the battlefield.
This is not murder. This is killing the enemy.
He came right up to us and said, "Are you ready to die?"
It could be any town, USA, your town. Kids playing on swings, tight-knit neighbors, then a midnight murder spree. A killer in camouflage crawling across his front yard.
I immediately went into what the military calls a crouching stance.
Billy Woodward engaging the enemy, his former friends. But why?
Just pow, 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 pow. I figured he was gonna come and kill all of us.
You had been such good neighbors. How in the world did it go so badly?
A gun, and he says the law on his side.
Billy Woodward says that you all threatened him.
Surveillance video shows a neighborhood shootout.
Was he standing his ground with 31 rounds, defending himself? Or taking revenge against neighbors who taunted him?
We never had guns. We never had baseball bats. We never had knives. The words that are coming out of my mouth, they're not going to kill somebody.
Try telling that to a man who's reached his breaking point.
These people with me.
Tonight, you'll see how a small Florida suburb erupted into bloodshed.
Your neighbor had just gunned down your boyfriend in front of your eyes.
Those explosive surveillance images. Interrogation tapes, a blow-the-roof-off hearing.
War has been declared upon my house and family. Do you not understand that, sir?
And the question everyone will be asking, is this woman's husband a calculating killer or a hero?
He saved my life and our children. How can you punish him for that?
After tonight, which side will you be on?
Good evening. Right here tonight, you're about to see how those few minutes of gunfire, 31 rounds caught on surveillance video, will change a neighborhood forever. Friends, the kind you'd hang out with, turning on each other to set off the war next door. But why?
That's the big question, and it's part of the debate raging across this country, Elizabeth, that controversial stand your ground law in 29 states. And the question, is it ever justifiable or just a blanket excuse to kill when in the wrong hands? So before tonight's show is over, you might be asking yourself, who's the bully here and who's the real victim? Once again, here's Deborah Roberts.
Titusville, Florida, tucked in along the East Coast, just up from the Kennedy Space Center.
2, 1, liftoff.
It's the Space Coast, NASA country, where big rockets shoot for the stars. But among 3 homes on Smith Drive, a more earthly matter put this city in the headlines, a vicious neighborhood feud. The trouble begins here at Billy and Barbara Woodward's house. Parents of 2 kids, she works in HR, he's at home on disability. A Gulf War vet, he says he suffers from PTSD and anxiety, treated with a shoebox full of prescriptions. Across the street, Billy's good friend, Gary Hembree, lives with his girlfriend, Kim Salisbury, and their children.
What was the relationship like between you two and the Woodwards? I get the impression that there was a good relationship.
Gary knew them for years and years. Our kids would go on hay rides with him. It seemed fine.
They were so close, Woodward even loaned Gary money. Gary's house was bursting at the seams. An old friend, Roger Picior, and his girlfriend had moved in with her children. The crowd from Gary's home often spilled next door into the yard of welder Tim Blake and his wife, Carrie.
I thought it was a nice place. I mean, all the neighbors seemed really nice. You know, it was very quiet, quaint. Kids were playing all the time.
A tight group of neighbors all getting along. Billy's wife, Barbara, still recalls the happy days on Smith Drive when all the children played together.
Is that the swing set that you put up?
I saved for years to buy that swing set. All the kids would come over and play on it. My daughter loved it.
They even bond over chickens. Billy decides to raise some in his yard. Not exactly legal, but no one seems to mind. He considers them therapy animals.
They were like pets. You could pick them up and handle them. They were very friendly.
How many would you guess you had?
I don't know, about 20 or so.
Oh.
Life was mostly fine until an incident with a birthday present. Billy and Barbara's daughter Ava was turning 12.
Somebody left a present for Ava. They thought we were not home. Well, I guess we didn't hear the door or whatever, so they left it on the porch.
But Ava's birthday gift went missing. The Woodwards accused the daughter of their neighbor Gary with stealing it.
I just knew that she had taken it. Gary immediately got very agitated and upset that we were accusing his daughter of having stolen something from our house.
Billy and Barbara called the police. Gary's daughter's in tears. It was a bad scene. The families in those 3 houses along Smith Drive now at battle stations. It's Billy and Barbara Woodward versus everybody else. Gary and Kim, Roger, and the Blakes next door. Photos from that day show Billy, the man who loved those chickens, flipping the bird. And although he denies it, the neighbors say Billy also brandished a weapon.
Billy lifted his shirt up and showed us his gun.
Billy flashed the gun and hold it up. Said, anybody come out there. Come on out here in the street. We'll get it done right now.
When Billy's dad comes over, he says the neighbors turn on him too.
Some of the comments were, I got me a baseball bat. I'll bash that old man's head in.
Did you fear that this could turn violent?
Oh, yes, ma'am, absolutely. Yep.
Things get so heated, Billy's father buys him a surveillance camera that will later record terrifying events. All this heartburn instigated by something as minor as a missing birthday present. Sad, but hardly a surprise to anyone familiar with the long-running carnival of wacky neighbors stories 2020 has followed over the years.
Mind my own business when you came out here. There's somebody on a tractor on Pioneer. Oh my gosh.
He's flashing my house.
I'm getting out of here.
Caterpillar crimes and misdemeanors.
You better get some cops up here with the guns, because this son of a gun is crazy.
The antics often lead to a fence, surveillance cameras, and regular visits from the police. But not many end in the kind of heartbreak witnessed in this story. Back in Titusville, the neighbors across the street from Billy Woodward know exactly how to ruffle his feathers. Those precious, illegal chickens. They blow the whistle, and Billy's forced to give up his feathered friends. He and wife Barbara find them new homes in the country.
How upsetting was it to Bill to have to get rid of them?
It made him angry. He was just upset that there had not been a problem, and then now all of a sudden there is.
When they made him get rid of the chickens, oh, it was on then. A light switch went on in Billy. He was not ever the same then.
They were constantly taunting about the chickens. They would drive up and down the street and lay on the horn just to be irritating. So it was a constant barrage of noise, which they knew would bother him because of his PTSD.
So it was a hostile environment.
It was constant. It was constant.
Even neighbor Tim Blake admits the taunting sometimes went too far.
Did you ever think at some point that this is going to escalate? This is going to get bad?
We even told the cops, are you going to wait till the body bags are being toted out?
But you also knew that you were antagonizing him as much as he was antagonizing you.
Oh, it was a 50-50 deal. Yeah, I look back now, like you were an idiot.
Police were soon barraged with calls from the neighborhood, often several times a day.
What would happen once the police arrived?
They would say, everybody needs to go home and calm down, and that never happened. As soon as the police would leave, they would start their taunts again.
Billy's dad, himself a former cop, gives his son some astonishing advice, saying he can't rely on police.
Explain to him that at the same time that you have to try to involve the police to keep you safe and your family safe, son, you always have to remember that there might be a time when they're not there.
You said that to him?
Yes, I did, because I've had to say it to many, many people over the years.
By late August, the nasty dispute ends up at the Titusville courthouse, with all sides asking for orders of protection. After speaking out of turn in court, Billy gives his standard excuse.
Judge, I apologize for my outburst. I am a mentally disabled veteran who's medicated, who suffered head injury and combat stress, and I don't control my actions very well.
The judge denies the orders. telling them all to go home and behave. But the hot-headed neighbors can't even get out of the parking lot without a physical brawl. Billy jumps Gary.
He came right up to us and said, "Are you ready to die?" Picked Gary up by his neck, threw him up against the car.
Gary's cell phone rolling on the whole thing.
What's wrong with you? You psychopath!
I'm okay.
The recording ends when a deputy picks up Gary's phone. Billy is arrested and released. 5 days later, there he is on the surveillance camera with his gun, all that ammo, and his neighbors in his sights.